yeah, and I also wanted to ask about, we did an interview, or my colleague Dana did an interview with Clayton Zane Comer about his new release that's just come out, which also features prominently a grandmother and a grandchild. Obviously, a lot of YA has family relationships, but I also note that the dedication above Linda Blair's quote, I think, is, on the other page, is to matriarchs of families. Why did you want to talk about, or what was interesting to you about particularly grandparents and grandkids in this story?
I think that's a really good question. I think I like the idea of legacy. And gosh, I really want to quote Hamilton. Legacy. What is legacy? I really do love the idea of legacy. I love the idea of how it can help or hinder you. And that's explored in the novel as well. At one point, Rhea kind of says to Ellie, Rhea does not have the same background as Ellie. She herself wants to pursue a career in the arts, but it's a struggle for her. She's got to make the right amount of money for that. She has to also get into this really competitive program. And the reality is there's not a lot of jobs going in the field that she hopefully wants to one day work in, versus Ellie, who kind of has all these options at her feet. And it is quite dilettante to decide or not decide to pursue a career in the arts. You know, it's a real social equator there. People who choose to pursue in the arts generally do so because they have that safety net that can catch them and provide them money and a place to stay while they're struggling to be the, garroted artist. That's a discussion that Ellie and Rhea have, which is Rhea saying to her, you have this legacy, you have this family who are encouraging you to pursue the arts. I don't have that. So it was really interesting for me to a few times throughout explore this idea of, Rhea's quite, I think, jealous in some ways of Ellie's legacy that she has with her family. But then we also see, as readers, we see that Ellie feels quite hampered and hindered by her legacy of her family. She feels quite cornered by it. She feels quite let down by it. And I just thought that was a really interesting dynamism to explore. And I think it's also interesting because that's the way that fame also works. It's this kind of legacy that people put out there of themselves to the world. And then what people choose to take from that, they have no control over. And kind of legacy is kind of similar in a lot of ways. You can't choose what people are going to think of you because of who you are, who you've been, who your family are. So I just wanted to kind of explore that. And then, yes, I come from a family of matriarchs. Grandfathers have never really stuck around in my family. Both my mum and dad had fathers who vamoosed on the family at a very young age, and they were raised, both of them came from 3 children households raised by single mothers. So, I've always just had matriarchs at the head of my family and very much spinning around my family. And I wanted to kind of do a little dedication to that. So it's a little bit funny in the book that Lottie, who is a Barrymore-esque character, is gender flipped for one thing. The John Barrymore was obviously a male acting legend from Drew Barrymore's great grandfather, but Lottie is obviously female, and she's gone through the husbands. She's had quite a few husbands in her lifetime, and only one of them has really stuck around, has become also a friend. I just kind of wanted to have a bit of a tongue-in-cheek for myself jab at the fact that grandfathers, in my experience, haven't really been sticking points. So that was me just playing around with that. It's a little head nod to my own family legacy, but also I wanted to dig into the fact of when you're a young person, I think you either feel quite jealous of the legacy you don't have, or you feel quite hampered by the one that you're trying to live up to. So that's what it boils down to between Ellie and Rhea, I think.